Today we have an entitled parent story of a father who traded their family away who came crawling begging to come back. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, entitled family demands I give them their dog. For context, I started working part-time in a charity kennel where we rehome dogs from the pound. Usually there's just two of us working, me and the kennel manager, Kay. The kennel itself is composed of 3 small buildings where we keep dogs and a fence with a double gate at the front. One of the buildings stretches just outside the fence with a small window looking straight at one of the dogs. On this day, we had received a cabinet donation that someone had left out in their garden. Since we had some use for it, Kay asked me to wash and scrub it since it was filthy while she walked the next dog on the list. So I grabbed my earbuds and got to work disassembling and scrubbing it in the courtyard, catching up on the latest Reddit reading podcast when, in my periphery, I see the entitled dad, ED, and kid, entitled kid. They had apparently just walked up and were looking into the open kennel window, squeaking a ball at the dog inside. I take out my earbuds and this conversation ensues. I say, "Can I help you?" Entitled dad says, "We're here to pick up our dog, Spot." I reply, "Sorry, we don't have any dogs named Spot here." The entitled kid says, "But he's right there. We can see him through the window. He looks exactly like he did on the listing. Give us our dog now." I replied, "Like I said, we don't have any dogs called Spot here. That's Jess. Are you sure you're at the right place?" Entitled dad responded, "Yes, this is the address we were given." I replied, "Okay, who did you talk to? What's the name of the company or person?" The dad responds, "I don't know." I reply, "Okay, I don't think I'll be able to help you. Why don't you wait for my manager to come back in around 15 to 20 minutes? She'll be able to sort you out." The entitled dad says, "Okay, we'll wait." And they walked off. I put my earbuds in and continued working. Not even 10 minutes later, the entitled kid comes back with his phone in his hand. I take out my earbuds and he tells me his mom, entitled mother, is on the other end and wants to talk to me. The entitled mother says, "Why are you keeping our dog away from us? Let me talk to Vanessa." "Hello to you too," I respond with, "I'm sorry, we don't have any Vanessa working here, nor in the office associated with us." The entitled mother responds, "Vanessa told me to come here. This is the address we were given, so stop bullcrapping us and just give us our dog." I reply, "I told you, no Vanessa works here. We don't have any viewings organized for today either. What's the name of the company you're looking for?" The entitled mother responds, "We organized it with X charity. Why are you making this so difficult?" I reply to her, "Miss, we're not affiliated with X charity at all. You have the wrong place." She says, "Stop lying. My kid saw the dog through your window. This is the address we were given and we'll get our dog today." At this point, I see my manager rounding the corner and just tell the lady to talk to her, since she'll be able to help her more. I walk up to my manager, give her a really quick summary and apology for what's about to come, and hand over the phone. I didn't hear the conversation, but I was later told that she had a similar conversation in a very argumentative tone with the lady on the line. She doesn't take bullcrap, and told her to tone it down so they can figure this out, and they eventually got to the conclusion that the family were looking for the kennels on the other side of the parking lot. The father and kid walk off, no apology or anything. A few minutes later, I see my manager glued to the fence and she calls me to come watch with her. Looking to the other side of the parking lot, we see the family walking out of the other kennel with their new dog, Spot. Spot was a smallish Shih Tzu. Jess is a massive Shiba Inu/Staffy mix. Confused looks were shared with my manager. I mean, shoot, I could look past the kid mistaking the dogs. Honestly, the kid was probably lying just because they were more than happy to take whatever dog was there, right? It's obviously the reaction of the father and mother and the way they treated these people who were just working at this pound trying to take care of these animals. I mean, if I were in OP shoes, after that I see them walking away with Spot, the dog that doesn't look anything like Jess, which they try to take, and I would just be sitting there worried to myself that they're not even going to take good care of the dog they're walking away with. MN Girl and KY commented, "Yikes, this could have been dangerous depending on the people. I don't know how I feel about these people taking that poor animal home." OP responded, "I get that, and if it was with us, we usually vet our owners. Can't say for the other kennels though." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy stories of crazy entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, parents threaten me with my inheritance if I, 23 non-binary, don't break up with my girlfriend, 23 male to female. Hi everyone, I'm posting seeking advice because I feel at my wit's end and I'm in the process of securing a therapist but haven't yet. To give a brief backstory, my mother and father divorced when I was 1.5 years old, and my father married my stepmother when I was 5. I've known her since I was 3 years old, and she's always been a part of my life, so I've considered her a third parent. The parents in reference, re the title, are my dad and stepmom. My mom has been very supportive throughout this and has truly been my rock throughout this situation. They're all late 50s, early 60s in age, and we're all Latino, so take into account cultural and generational differences here. 2.5 years ago, in late 2021, I started dating my girlfriend, white and non-Latina. Girlfriend and I have had a great relationship. Our communication and conflicts was solid, I got along great with her friend group, and she really made me feel so seen in regards to my gender identity. The biggest problem with girlfriend has always been how shy she is. The 2 times we got dinner with my mom, she barely spoke, and mom doesn't have anything against her because she hasn't been able to get to know her words. Things came to a head in March of last year, after I told my parents we wanted to move in with each other a few months prior. Dad and stepmom blew up at me, stating that I was trying to lie to them or deceive them about what point our relationship was at, because only people who were very serious about getting married move in with each other. They, mom, dad, and stepmom, decided to meet her in March, and it went horribly. I was so anxious beforehand that I didn't sit her down and brief her about how my parents are, and that they already didn't like her. By the way, only my mom has consistently gendered her correctly. She's not super feminine, so my dad and stepmom insist on misgendering her and calling her my boyfriend instead, and have yelled at me when I correct them. So I eventually stopped so as to not instigate fights. They basically interrogated her about what her intentions were, about what her plans for the future were, etc. Girlfriend dropped out of university and started working as an EMT and plans to become a paramedic. And they insisted that that was beneath me and that I needed someone with a socio-economic background and education similar to mine. Meanwhile, she was raised by parents wealthy enough that they can afford to live in one of the most expensive parts of the state. At the time, I'd been accepted into a PhD program, and the discrepancy in education was a major sticking point for them. Despite the fact that my dad didn't get his associates until 2019 with my help in tutoring him, while stepmom and mom both have degrees. I told my girlfriend that it had gone poorly and that we needed to do something to make up for it. But quite frankly, neither one of us could think of what to do. Then graduation came in May. I snuck away from my parents to see her and then took her over to see them. Everyone was visibly uncomfortable and the interaction ended quickly as I had other family there that I wasn't out to yet and didn't know who girlfriend was. Since then, I've moved out of state into an apartment that is too expensive for my stipend and have relied on financial help from both sets of parents. Thankfully, I'll be getting a raise and will be able to afford life on my own come this fall, albeit on a very tight budget. However, every time I visited dad and stepmom, a 6+ hour long fight always happens where they berate me for still being with my girlfriend, insist she is not the one for me, and accuses me of lying to them and getting upset at me when I start crying and shut down mid-argument. This past month, it was 2 days of these fights, 6 hours the first day and 7 hours the second, where it climaxed in them threatening to not give me a cent of the inheritance if I stayed with her. They've also said other concerning financially related things, such as when I told them I didn't want their help anymore come this fall, that "you don't think we won't have a say in your life if we're not giving you money, right?" I called her that night sobbing as she had noticed my distance over the past couple days and my lack of responding to her texts. She had also just put down a deposit for an apartment in my area. I cried and told her that this wasn't sustainable, that I couldn't continue like this, and that I couldn't handle the constant emotional battery from my parents. I apologized profusely and told her I didn't know what else to do. The most obvious answer now is to have told them to freak off and booked a flight the next day, but I know that would have started World War III and I'd rather confront them over the phone in the safety of my apartment many states away. I know that in the long term, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay with her. My non-nuclear family is so homophobic and transphobic that I know I'll have a hard time bringing a cis woman home, much less a trans woman. It just breaks my heart knowing that I gave in when I'd been resisting this for almost 1.5 years now. I guess what I'm asking for here is just if anyone else can relate. Has anyone else been in a situation similar? What should I do? How do I go about this situation? I really appreciate any help. I'll definitely be the first person to say that this situation is much above my pay grade, which, to be fair, is probably an already pretty low pay grade to begin with as far as giving advice. One of the most common pieces of advice that comes into my mind in situations like this is just continuing to try to get more and more independent. I guess what comes down to my mind is really, what is the most important to OP? Would they rather have access to that inheritance and, by extension, allow those people to have some level of control over OP's life? Or would they rather be able to choose to be with anybody that they love, but also accept that there is a very real chance that because of that, they will cut you out of that inheritance and you won't see any of it? I think the sooner you accept that the latter is likely to happen, the more you continue on the path you're going, the more liberating it will be to just rip that band-aid off and maybe even consider going low or no contact straight up. Winter Wolverine 4622 commented, "You need to grow up and call their bluff. You will never be happy if you just keep rolling over for them." Energetic 618 commented, "Right? I'd be willing to bet OP has far more leverage over them by threatening to go no contact if they don't stop benching about your girlfriend, that they'll back down. OP's just got to tell them that you're an adult now and you're going to live your life. It's too short and you just want to be happy, and she makes you happy. If they don't like it, you don't want to hear about it anymore, you're done. You won't reply to texts or answer phone calls and will block them if need be. You're already several states away. Might want to wait for fall to pull this though, if you can't afford to be without their help." Our next story is, "I live with a narcissist and cannot do this anymore. It's been a whole year since I posted here and so much has happened since then, so I'm going to make this as short as I can. My mom's been lying to me for a very long time. I own everything she and my dad had together. She's been lying to me about it. She's also been feigning ignorance and doing the probate. I found out from my father's lawyer, who contacted me, that she knew exactly what she was supposed to do. I also found out that we weren't supposed to do a letter of administration, but rather a probate since my dad left a will. What I've realized is that ultimately, she doesn't want to answer to me in regards to the assets that have been left. I'm 23 and she's 50. She doesn't listen to anybody who tries to advise her. I plan on moving out. I've started to resent her. I've also updated my dad's friends on the situation I find myself in. I got some friends, who I'm no longer friends with anymore, who opened my eyes to her wrong ways. She has committed crimes that she refuses to acknowledge by selling some of the properties, and I was none the wiser because I trusted her and I was 19. I've realized her love is very conditional, and it's motherly as long as I don't inquire about the properties. I intend to take her to court. She thinks she deserves everything for building with my father, but doesn't seem to get the fact that she has no choice in this matter as long as I'm the sole beneficiary in my father's will. My eyes have also been opened to the fact that the marriage between my parents wasn't as picture perfect as I thought it was, and my father had a world of patience that I personally do not have. I finally realized that she is fully a narcissist and there's nothing I can ever do to change her. I plan on going minimal to no contact once I leave. Everyone tells me to have patience. I do not have that patience. My dad's friends are trying to exhaust all available avenues to get her to do the probate so I don't have to take her to court, because if I take her to court, she's going to jail. They want us to have at least a cordial relationship for the sake of my late dad, and everyone understands exactly where I'm coming from, but where I'm from is very traditional. She's very oblivious to my findings as I know how to pretend everything is fine. I constantly cry. I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe I just thought she was strict or difficult growing up when it was so much more than that. She keeps lying to people that the reason she doesn't want to do the probate is because I would either A, be manipulated by a man to sell my father's properties. That's the dumbest crap I've ever heard. Or B, I'm not mature enough. Again, dumbest crap. When it doesn't have to do with the properties, I'm the most mature person she knows. As I mentioned previously in my older posts, she has no idea I've had a boyfriend before, but still thinks no man can manipulate me as long as it has nothing to do with the property. She keeps making plans to sell stuff with no plan to invest, but rather to travel the world. One of my dad's friends said that if she's antsy, I can even give her parts so we don't ever have to talk about properties with each other to keep the peace. And it's so cute how he thinks it would work. She would not listen. She listens to no one but herself and her selfish desires. I'm really just tired of it all. I finished school in September, and my godfather and my aunt have offered to talk to her before then. If she refuses to listen to them, I will be looking at my legal options, and I know it would be to take her to court. I at first had my dad's lawyer offering, but he's withdrawing and renouncing his name from the will as an executor because he doesn't want people to think he's the reason for a rift between my mom and I, because if he pursues the case, she's going to jail. He's advised me to seek legal counsel elsewhere, and he would continue to advise me legally from the sidelines. Everyone I tell is very shocked this is happening because I'm her only child. Everyone's confused as to why she's acting this way because I've never given her an inkling that I'm material or I would indiscriminately sell everything. She's just greedy. I would update you guys if it does come down to me taking her to court. I mean, it sounds to me like her playbook is just trying to run out the clock. It sounds to me like she just wants to stretch this out until it gets to a point where nobody can litigate her, nobody can challenge her on this. OP needs to make sure that they get their inheritance. Wife of Bath 1984 commented, "It's been over a year and probate still isn't done? You know her goal here is to steal your inheritance, right? Enough waiting and hoping other people will talk her into it. You need a new lawyer like yesterday. Every day you wait is another opportunity to sell off your inheritance. If she has legal issues because of her illegal actions, that's on her. She made her bed, now she must lie in it. OP, I implore you to stop relying on other people to get this done. You need to take matters into your own hands before you lose everything. You're being tremendously naive by thinking someone will be able to talk her into this when you've repeatedly stated she doesn't listen to anyone but herself. Stop sitting on your hands and do something to secure your future and your inherited assets." OP responded saying, "I actually did start. That's what I mean by the lawyer is withdrawing. We started, but due to the fact that I didn't have enough info about the assets, we had to wait until I got it. And I guess during that time, my dad's lawyer felt he didn't want to be between this. I've contacted another lawyer, but I cannot go forward till the process of him removing his name as an executor is done, as it would cause a lot of problems if I start the probate as he's removing his name from the will. Trust me, I know exactly what she wants to do. Everybody does, but they all hold some sort of guilt as to my late dad wouldn't want what's happening, so they'd like to at least try. I already know what the outcome would be, but these are way older people, so I can't tell them what to do. After November 12th, when the court processes for the lawyer renouncing his name is done, I'm going ahead with taking it to court when she doesn't listen to them. Our next story is my mother versus wedding planning. So my fiance, 23-year-old male, and I, 23 non-binary, are just starting out our wedding planning, February 2026, and there have already been issues with my narcissistic mom, 45-year-old female. Both small, to be honest, but indicative of the future I saw when I was a teen. So the two incidents are as follows. My fiance and I decided to go look at wedding dresses, and I asked if she wanted to come along. She responded that she was going to be busy that day, so we went alone. I've always wanted this experience and I had a lot of fun. Seeing my fiance's face reacting to all the dresses is such a warm core memory for me, but when I got home, my mom got upset with me for not waiting for her to go looking. I told her that it was just the first time I was looking and she could come the next time. After dress looking, my fiance and I were talking about how our parents have never formally met, so I set up a group chat between my parents and his and us, the couple. I asked everybody's availability, and my mom responded with, "Any Sunday." So I planned for this coming Sunday. Today, I asked her where would be a good place to have dinner, and she got really upset at me because suddenly, she's not going to be in town Sunday. She didn't say anything at all when the plan was made. Like I said, both of these are small incidents, but it's the fact she's getting genuinely upset with me for making and keeping plans without her. In terms of the dinner planned with other people's confirmation, my fiance and I decided to continue with the dinner as planned and set up a separate meeting for my mother. Now it's gonna be my dad, stepmom, probably, and my fiance's mom and dad, hopefully. I just wanted to share my experience so far because I'm nearly certain there are gonna be more incidents the further along we get into planning. Thanks for coming to my red talk. Obviously this is worse than a friend, but I feel like at some point in most people's lives, you end up having a friend like this who will even say that they're down for whatever and want to be there and say that, oh yeah, I've got availability so and so time, but then just never show up, kind of ghost you. At least in my experience, most of the people I've known like this, at least they have the decency to not get upset when otherwise all of a sudden they can't make it themselves. At the worst, they will just, stay quiet about it, apologize apologize when you challenge them, and then you turn around and go, alright, well, I guess I'll just not try to make plans with that person again. Basically all that babble to say, it's surprising that OP hasn't come to just expect their mom is going to be unreliable. That you just can't count on them being there or being available when they say they'll actually be available. King Super John commented, does your mom live alone? Does she have any friends that check up on her regularly? Is her home clean? You know your mom better than I. Is this her regular attitude? Sorry, it sounds like she's slipping. Maybe check up on her physically a little more often? I don't have enough info. OP responded saying, my mother lives with my brother and I. She does have friends and people who check in with her daily. Our home is kept clean, though lived in. This is pretty on par with her normal personality. When I was a preteen into a teenager, she went through what she calls her party hard and harder phase. During this point in time, I had decided that when I could, I was going to cut contact. She's kind of gotten better over the years, but obviously not enough. She needs to feel in control of everything. She's currently having her daily mental breakdowns because she's in a healthy relationship where her man spoils her. She's never had this before and is actively sabotaging it to feel in control. Her words nearly verbatim, she's just always been a handful for me to deal with, and as I'm finally growing into having my own life, growing into my own future, currently saving for a place with my fiance who lives with his mother at the moment, as I'm finally in a place to put my foot down and be the one in charge, she's not liking that I'm not being more accommodating to her. She doesn't understand that at any given time, I have to accommodate at least 5 people, not including my fiance and I. Our next story is it wrong to keep my mother at bay while I plan my wedding? I, 24-year-old female, grew up very close to my mother, female 53. We were very close and we did a lot of activities together. She got divorced when I was little and has since remarried with a man I consider one of my role models in life, while still maintaining my connection with my bio dad. Over the years and since moving out of the house, I've noticed some very unsettling tendencies come out from the relationship I have with my mom. I met a man in college and we started dating. Everyone was introduced and things were great. This man is now my fiance. As time went on and our relationship became more solidified and serious, my mom has started preferring that just myself come home to visit now. She complains about being a hostess and wanting to do whatever she wants to do and not have to wait on everyone by making meals, cleaning up after us, etc. I get confused by this since started coming up, we were in college and living independently. We don't need to be cared for. I do have a younger brother in the home that still needs that kind of support, food, water, shelter, but I've been out of that phase for years. She had a mental breakdown at my college graduation because she saw my bio dad from a distance and refused to continue into the ceremony because it was all too much for her. My bio dad and my remarried father both get along great. No one has any issues except for her. She makes comments on vacations when it's just us without my fiance about how this might be the last vacation like this. This is how it could have been, and it makes me so upset. I love my fiance very much and want them to be included, but she makes all these remarks about the opposite. It's pushing me away. A week before I got engaged, she asked me privately if I could not post anything when I do get engaged, because the thought of me being engaged makes her physically ill. And she asked if I could wait 2 years to get engaged because it would be more inconvenient for herself since she would be done with her master's program by then. I told her none of that is in my control and it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment that I would like everyone to share in, so I cannot make that promise to not share it online with everyone. She started crying and listed all the problems she had with family members and socializing and big events. It was all about her. She refuses to get counseling and says, God will get me through it. She clearly needs help and sees me as her confidant, but I can't help her when it involves putting my own life on hold. I tried to wait a little bit to tell her I got engaged when it happened, and I told her I had a date set. But as of right now, she's had problems with my bridesmaids I've picked out, the dates I've reserved, and doesn't even want me to try on any dresses with anyone, even if it's just for fun because it's a mother's thing. I want to give my bio dad some time during my wedding as well, walking down the aisle and a dance, but I know mother will throw a very strong opinion on that. At this point, I'm closer with my future mother-in-law and will have her support instead. I mean, I think this is just an exercise in who controls your life at this point. You either do what you're planning on doing and live life the way you want to, or you kind of sacrifice control to her and let her make those decisions for you and delay things 2 years down the line because it's more convenient for her. Although, let's be real, considering the history of her actions, if it was truly up to her, she would delay this for 2 more years, every 2 years, until it's dead in the water. Momo Eats Zombies commented, "Not the jerk. It's ultimately your wedding and she has issues she needs therapy or professional help of some sort for. It's okay to have a close relationship, but it sounds like she's trying to put herself before what your plans, events, and mainly feelings are. She can be an adult and be civil during the wedding, or not be included. It's that plain and simple. I hope you have a lovely wedding and enjoy every second of your day. Make the best of it, even if it includes not letting mom have a big part. Don't let her downplay anything to do with it either. You got this and your future significant other will thank you in the long run. No becoming a doormat." Our next story is my 40-year-old female toxic dad who traded his family for a gold digger demands to live with me. My 40-year-old female parents are divorced because my dad cheated. If you want the full details, I posted the story in relationship advice a few years ago. But the short version is, my mom found out my dad was cheating and started divorce proceedings. As a result, my dad got vindictive and allowed/encouraged his mistress to get vindictive towards my mom. When his mistress broke up with him, he tried to come crawling back to my mom, who shut the door in his face, and he spent the whole divorce process lashing out at my mom, me, and my other siblings and our kids, to the point where we all had to go no contact. Anyway, the divorce was finalized. Dad and his mistress have been on again, off again. They have a kid together. There was some drama where he denied the kid was his, but he got a paternity test done and it turns out it is his. Anyway, he showed up at my door a few weeks ago and told me he was going to stay with me. Not asked, told. And not just that, but he told, not asked, that while he was here, my husband and I needed to move into the guest room so he could have our room because it has an ensuite. And, you know, he needs that. As you can imagine, I put my foot down hard. I told him after everything he did, how dare he darken my doorstep. And worse, not even to apologize, not even to ask how I am or how his grandkids are, but to dictate to me that he is staying in my house. I'm normally a pretty calm, go-with-the-flow kind of person, but I just lost it and screamed all the things he did to us. The vindictive attacks, the way he used my kids as weapons to get back at me, the smear campaigns he led against my mom. He screamed back, "When you came crying home after your breakup with X, I let you stay in my house, eat my food, moon about in your room. I let you come home. I didn't act like a complete witch." To be clear, the breakup he's talking about was when my former fiancé cheated on me with multiple women. Oh, and also, for anyone who hasn't read my previous post, it's not his house, it's my mom's, and he tried to steal it from her during the divorce to give to his bratty mistress. I just shut the door on him. Long story short, police had to be called as my dad refused to leave. I found out today why he tried to stay with me. His mistress has been bleeding him dry with child support and alimony. I think they've broken up for good. He's had to sell every asset he had and now he's broke. I know this because he's staying with my uncle, his brother, and he called me to let me know. The saddest/funniest part about all this is how my dad won't stop talking about how heartless and ungrateful I am to anyone who will listen. And he's posting passive-aggressive posts on his Facebook about how you do everything for your kids, but then they throw you to the curb. This whole ordeal over the last few years has been hard. I've been going to therapy and have slowly come to terms with the fact that my father isn't the man I thought he was, and likely he never will be. But this, it brought back a lot of hurt. I can't believe he would do this. I just don't understand how somebody can do this, can behave this way. But it is what it is. But anyway, my dad, the entitled, vindictive little jerk, everyone. Never thought I'd be able to say that, but there we go. I think the most frustrating thing about people like this is they tend to have their own little entitled, evil circle or group of friends or pals. Just a sickening little clan of all like-minded people who, when they post on their Facebook, "You raise your kids and they throw you to the curb," they'll all chime in and go, "Oh, that's so awful, I'm so sorry to hear you treated that way," but they don't actually care about the facts or what's actually going on. They'll just listen and parrot about how everybody else is doing them all wrong. Forward Plenty commented, "It's great when your abusive, vindictive jerk of a parent accuses you of tossing them to the curb. Never mind that they're supposed to be supporting you and helping you deal with the kids and life, but you're now supposed to be there for them when they were never there for you. Good on you for slamming the door in his face. Maybe a dose of reality will finally settle in when he finally realizes that he's burned all his bridges and that he's going to have to do a lot of swimming to get back on your side." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.